All right. Let's do this Arbiter. There's obelisk here. There's a little walkway here. And we have a sealed passage. And then we need to put this fragmenty thing in, and this fragmenty thing in, and this fragmenty thing in. I forget where each one of these is from. Spoilers! This is the pinnacle fight. Nastiest boss in the game. It's gonna be so hard. Big challenge incoming. Look at the fancy bridge. Fancy bridge. All the, like, scorched people? Something? I don't know. I can't really move around much yet. Can I kill him?
Your affliction upon her will soon be erased. Let fire in the mother soul was.
Oh, a little Grand Regalia. Hopefully that's good. We got a little Arbiter's Book of Knowledge, a couple of Exalted Orbs, and a dead Arbiter. I'm sure there were like mechanics and stuff, but like Poisonous Concoction seems to resolve any mechanical issues. Game. G. Alright, here we go. Round 2. Reverse. Spin our points. We're fighting a +1 Arbiter. That means he's gonna be like a lot harder, and we're gonna have to pay a lot of attention to like all the mechanics and the intricacies of the fight so that we don't die. Very critical. Guy in here, and this little guy in here, guy in here, and open the door. Got 152k on our PConc. Little bridgey poo here.
You are too late. The fourth edict already burns for your
So tanky. Got a little mini phase. He's gonna. Hey, he watched the opening stream and got the wings. So proud of him. Mechanics. Got a garbage pair of gloves.
Now this will come in handy.
Things are worth like 5x. And we'll get our power. Now we're gonna get our power this time because like he tricked us last time, but this time we see him coming. Dude, I see you coming. Look, what? Nope. Fucking bullshit. A breach time. Now this is why we made some changes to the build, was for situations like this. Because we have a bossing version, a weapon swap for bossing, and then a weapon swap for situations like breach. So let's see how our gas arrow does in a fancy little breachy poop. Like our gas arrow is doing just fine in this little breachy poo. Don't let it get too far ahead, though. Do we need to open these class hands? I don't know. I don't know if those class hands do anything. But this was the goal of the build. Have incredibly strong breaching capabilities with a boss swap. So looks like everything is working as designed.
Cloaking cloud.
It's fancy. We don't know what's ahead until we get there. Just keep the poison flowing. War crimes everywhere. That's a big old handy thing. Oh, good. More breach to go here. Thought that was the end of it. All of our little loot here. Siphoning wand? Are people siphoning wanding? Is that a thing? Grab the bases. Full string base. Good base. And weapon swap. PConc. Xesht. Zesty. It's like lemon lime Sprite zesty. Not very zesty. Old zesty poo. Mechanics are for shitty builds.
Rather not break my back.
What happened, Doriani? Thought you were a big boy.
Chaos will bring you to your yet another win.
Lokati here. Today we are going to talk about our Pathfinder Poisonous Concoction. This build has become very popular since the patch that buffed Poisonous Concoction. It is a very, very strong single target build that lacks a little bit in mobility and area clear. And we've gone over a bunch of iterations of the build, and this is the one I'm settling on as my personal favorite. There are a lot of options with the build. I know Queen of the Forest and Corpse Wade is popular, but you have no survivability with Queen of the Forest and Corpse Wade. I know you can fix survivability with Orlan's Flask, but Orlan's Flask doesn't work as a survival tool unless you abuse a bug to utilize it, and I just don't promote bugs around here. So we try to keep everything on the up and up and make builds that are mostly nerf free. Now, as far as defenses on the build go, we are running primarily an energy shield evasion build. We have just a splash of armor coming from the belt. If you can get a little bit of armor, it helps, but it doesn't matter that much. And so we're running a hybrid life ES and evasion. And so in maps with Grim Feast up, we run about 7k energy shield. And we run 1900 life. And then you want to get good reses here. I just made some gear changes, so we're a little under cap. But this is not the end of the world. This is a tremendous layer of defense with 7k energy shield with Grim Feast, nearly 2k life, and 86% evasion. You'll feel very, very tanky. Really, the only thing that kills me are on-death ground effects that I am not paying attention to because I'm looting, because items cover up ground effects. But defenses on the build are very solid, and I think this is something that is very important today. Now, as far as damage goes, you're going to be using 2 abilities for damage. The first one is going to be Gas Arrow. Gas Arrow is our main clear ability, so as you can see, it covers the whole screen in gas. This poison does a tremendous amount of damage, and you use that primarily to kill white mobs, blue mobs, non-tanky rares, and most everything in the map. As you saw in the breach video, it breaches very, very well. It clears very well, and it's super straightforward to play. For our single target on bosses, or for very tanky rares, we're using Poisonous Concoction. Each toss is somewhere between 750,000 and 2 million damage, depending on whether we crit or not. So this is a tremendous amount of single target damage. You'll be able to one-shot mini bosses and absolutely decimate things like Arbiter and the Trial Master and Xesht, whatever, the Breach Lord, as you saw in the previous part of the video here. Now, as far as gear goes, right now I'm fairly well geared. I have a relatively good bow for Gas Arrow and a relatively good quiver for Gas Arrow. And you're going to use a weapon swap for this. We'll talk about on the skill tree. But most importantly, on your Gas Arrow bow, you want the highest amount of physical damage that you can budget, and you want it to have at least 1 additional arrow. More is better. For your quiver, you just want damage with bow skills and plus level to all projectile skills. The rest of the quiver doesn't matter. If you can get some extra fizz damage on there, that's good. That scales well. If you can get some projectile speed, that's good. It helps with just general clear and quality of life. If you can get dex on there, that's good. It's quality of life, especially if you're having any gearing issues surrounding your stats. And so, bow and quiver on the Gas Arrow. For the weapon swap, you want a Widow Hell and a quiver that has damage with bow skills, level of projectile skills, and then crit, crit, crit. You want crit prefix, or sorry, crit implicit, crit hit chance, and crit damage bonus. And these are going to be pricey. I got this one today for a incredibly good deal. But get as much crit as you can. If it's 16%, 24%, and 18%, that's fine too. The +2 proj is a requirement. Some damage with bow skills is very good. I wouldn't focus on that too much because I imagine that's going to be one of the first things that gets chopped off of PConc. Because PConc is not a bow skill. It should not scale with damage with bow skills, but it does currently scale with damage with bow skills. So I wouldn't stress over the damage with bow skills portion of it, but just crit, crit, crit. Very, very good. Now, as far as your helmet goes, you want a pure energy shield helmet. that has some useful stats on it. You want an amulet that has energy shield, as well as +3 to proj skills, and then lots of attributes on it. You want a ring that has some useful stats on it. You want another ring that has some useful stats on it. Useful stats would be max life, resistances. The leech physical damage as mana is really nice because the gas arrow still does hit for physical damage. And so it gives you a little bit more physical, it gives you a little bit more mana sustain with gas arrow. It's pretty mana heavy because of the level of the skill we push it up to, which is why we run inspiration on it, which we'll go over later. And then your other ring, again, just useful stats. Fizz damage is good. If you could get chaos damage on both of these rings, that would be way better. And so both of my rings are due for an upgrade, because chaos damage would scale PConc better than the flat fizz would. But your rings are kind of open slots along with your belt to just get useful things. Now your belt, the main thing you want out of it is increased flash charges gained and flash charges gained per second. You could also do reduced flash charges used. Either one of those works, but you want the flash charges gained per second. It's very, very important because it'll help with sustain on your mana flask when you are PConcing on any kind of a really difficult boss potentially. We don't have any of those yet, but if we get them, that'll be very good. Now for our boots, we want movement speed. I'm running evasion energy shield boots right now. At some point, I'm going to move both my boots and my gloves over to pure energy shield, but that's just a budget decision right now. These were cheaper, and this stupid armor energy shield one was cheap. You don't need to run either of those. I would run pure energy shield on those. Just want very high move speed, and then stats and resistance to fill, and then we want the best energy shield that we can get on these two slots here. And so that's what you're looking at from a gearing perspective. Now on our skills, we are running Poisonous Concoction and Gas Arrow. Move little Gas Arrow up here. I winner here. Escape Shot down here. I haven't pressed Escape Shot in like 40 hours played. So PConc, we are running Scatter Shot, Chaos Mastery, Chaos Infusion, Lightning Infusion, and Execute. You could run Martial Tempo here instead of Execute. I like Lightning Infusion because it is enough damage to shock bosses, and shocked bosses take 20% extra damage, and it's just flat extra lightning damage as well. And so this is a good one here. You could run Inevitable Critical here if your crit strike is still very low, or you could run Super Critical if your crit strike is low. Both of those would be damage buffs over Lightning Infusion. However, once your main hand critical strike chance gets high enough and your main hand critical damage bonus gets high enough, it starts becoming less valuable to run Inevitable Critical and Super Critical. So in that case, we ran Lightning Infusion and Execute. On Gas Arrow, we are running Magnified Effect with Comorbidity, Heft, Bursting Plague, and Inspiration. Magnified Effect and allows the cloud to be much larger, so covers a larger area. And then that increased area of effect gets scaled multiplicatively over time with Gas Arrow. Comorbidity just gives us some additional poisons. Poison duration doesn't matter in the cloud because if it's in the cloud, it's getting poisoned over and over again. Heft is more maximum physical damage, which means a larger poison applied by the cloud. Bursting Plague gives us a little bit of additional mass clear. And then Inspiration helps to mitigate life costs. Now, if your Gas Arrow is doing enough damage that you don't have any issues with clear, you can drop Bursting Plague and put in Persistence here, and that would give you a larger cloud that lasts for a longer period of time and helps to get just general clear down where you don't need damage. Now, we are running Eye of Winter because Eye of Winter inflicts critical weakness on the target, which gives us increased critical strike chance. It is plus 10% increased critical strike chance. So, how do I say? It is plus 10% more critical hit chance. It's very, very strong. And so you definitely want to run Eye of Winter. We're using Withering Touch, Persistence, and Unleash on it. Unleash makes sure that we cast 3 Eye of Winters whenever we cast it. So we get max stats of Withering Touch and max stats of critical weakness. And then Persistence just helps the Wither and the critical weakness last longer on the target, so we don't have to cast it over and over again. We are using Despair as our curse. I like Cursed Ground and Heightened Cursed here. Cursed Ground puts the curse on the ground rather than on the target, so I can pre-curse the area before the boss activates, and I really like that. If you don't want to have to worry about moving your curse around with the boss, you could just take this off and curse the boss instead of using Cursed Ground. For our auras, I'm running Ghost Dance, Wind Dancer, and Grim Feast. Ghost Dance, we're running Fast Forward, and I've got Precision on here. I don't need Precision on here. There's not another 10 Spirit thing that I need. If you have Spirit from your armor or from your necklace, you can run different supports in here that may be more valuable to you. Precision is just, it is what it is. Wind Dancer, running Blind and Maim. Grim Feast, we don't need any supports on that. Grim Feast gives us our energy shield overflow, so we double our maximum energy shield while we're running around. Wind Dancer is just more evasion, and then Ghost Dance gives us some recovery whenever we are evading attacks through energy shield gain equal to 5% of our evasion, and we have like 18k evasion in the build right now. And then I've got Escape Shot down here with Martial Tempo and Holy Descent. This just gives me an escape and then a heal on the ground in case I'm dodging and desperately trying to stay alive, and maybe that little extra healing will make a difference for us right there. And so this is our skill breakdown. Now, as far as our passive tree goes, on our Ascendancy, we are obviously going Overwhelming Toxicity because literally nothing else on the tree matters. We're going PConc because the build's based around PConc, and we're going Traveler's Wisdom because 6 extra skill points is like the best thing in our entire Ascendancy. I'm really hoping we get some Ascendancy changes on Pathfinder because Enduring Elixirs is really lackluster, Relentless Pursuit is really lackluster, and Running Assault is literally a support gem. Very, very lackluster. So, we go with this. There's not really any other options. You can do whatever you want with this, though. We don't really rely too much on the double poison effect here, and so if you really wanted to run Enduring Elixirs, you could. This would only be a minor hit to your clear, but this is our setup for Ascendancy. Now, as far as our passive tree goes, we're going to be coming down the projectile damage tree here. There is potentially some value in picking up Vile Wounds here because we are applying shock with our lightning fusion on PConc right here. So that is something that I might be taking in the future. We'll go down here, sweep across the tree down here, come up here, take the dex right here, the evasion nodes right here, and then we come back up and across the tree here. We take all this energy shield here. We come across and get this crit here, and we take this energy shield and evasion here. And then we're going to go up the tree and down and get this chaos here, get this chaos here, and then get this crit here. Now we have different weapon sets here. The weapon sets are going to set up how we do gas arrow versus how we do PConc. And so on the PConc weapon set, we have a lot more crit nodes. Pick up crit here. We pick up some crit over here. We pick up crit here. We pick up some additional crit nodes here. And all that critical hit chance and critical hit bonus damage is a massive increase to our damage with PConc. And then for our gas arrow setup, we don't need all of that crit damage. So instead we take some poison stuff here, some poison stuff here, some poison stuff here, and a little bit of attack damage and some blind in here. And so that gives us bonuses to our gas arrow. So we have better clear with gas arrow and better single target with PConc. Now, anytime you use gas arrow, you can have it set up right here so that when you use gas arrow, it always goes to weapon set 2. Weapon set 2 is where your gas arrow damage is. Now, PConc, on the other hand, does not have this same option. And I'm assuming this is just an oversight. So whenever you are playing, and you'll see here, as soon as I hit gas arrow, it flips over to gas arrow's weapon set, and PConc follows it. And we do 17k damage times 3, which is 54k damage with PConc in our gas arrow setup. Or we do 215,000 damage, which is 645,000 damage due to scatter shot with our weapon swap to our PConc setup. So make sure when you're going into a boss that you are in the correct setup. There's no way on the screen to tell it, so you can just open up your inventory and make sure that you're in the right one. There are many times where I hit a boss and I expect him to die instantly and he doesn't die, and I have to weapon swap and then kill him. So make sure you are weapon swapping for PConc, and then hopefully they will patch it so that we can go ahead and put that on a weapon swap like we can with every other skill in the freaking game. I have winner, doesn't matter which one you're on. All you care about are these debuffs anyway. So just leave this one alone. But that is how we are going to set up our passive tree here. Now, as far as our jewels go, most of my jewels are going to be increased bonuses gained from equipped quiver. Increased bonuses gained from equipped quiver. And there's some other stuff on there. And if you can get great stats, if you can get attack damage, if you can get poison magnitude, if you can get poison duration, if you can get evasion rating, like there's a lot of other really good stats you can get on there. But the most important thing is that you hit the break points for your quiver bonuses. So our quiver here is +2 to all projectile levels. That means at 100%, it is 4. At 150, it is 5. At 200, it is 6, and so on and so forth. Every 50% going to give you +1 to your projectile levels. And that +1 to your projectile levels is incredibly important to your PConc damage. Because, for example, if I take this bow off, which is basically just multiplying this quiver and giving me a lot of levels, I lose 10 levels off of my skill and a tremendous amount of damage. Absolutely tremendous. And one of these jewels by itself, 35,000 damage. So make sure you're hitting those breakpoints and getting those levels to PConc. They are very important. Now, there are some general breakpoints. If you have a 220% Widow Hell Quiver and you have 80% on your tree down here, then that puts you at 300%, and that is one breakpoint. So a 220 Quiver with nothing else is one breakpoint. A 270 Quiver is your next breakpoint. And then if you have a 278 Quiver, then you need 42% in jewels, which is like 2 14s and a 15. If you have 295% on your quiver, you can run 2 additional jewels and have them at 15, and that gets you to the next breakpoint. So you add up this one along with your quiver bonuses on your tree and all the quiver bonuses on your jewels, and just make sure you're at or above the next 50% breakpoint on there for your gearing and maximizing the levels that you're getting out of your quiver onto PConc, which is where the majority of your damage is coming from. Now, if you have any questions on the build, please leave a comment down below or come by my Twitch channel. I'm happy to answer all questions. The goal of my Twitch channel is just to help people understand how to play the game better. And so do not hesitate to come by and say, hey, yo, this is happening. What can I do better? We're glad to help. Other than that, thank you very much. Y'all have a wonderful day. Peace.